Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to What's on the Playlist today. Um, I just recorded this whole thing without hitting the record button. I went through like the whole spiel, and now I have to try and do it again. Oh, I hope I can do this a second time. With the same level of enthusiasm, I'll give it a shot. So, today I want to talk about Blind Melon's debut album, Blind Melon, an image of which you will see here. Um, Blind Melon was from a group of guys that met in Los Angeles, managed to gather a couple of guys into the band as well, and started touring around Los Angeles. They got their band's name from the bassist Brad Smith. His father, blind melon, was a term that Brad Smith's father used to describe hippies, not not necessarily in a positive sense. Um, there's a Cheech and Chong skit with Blind Melon Chitlin, which is where I thought they got the name from. Blind Melon Chitlin is actually a parody of Blind Lemon Johnson, Blind Lemon Smith. I'm not sure of his last name, but there was a real blues character from the 1920s called Blind Lemon, a very influential blues musician. My father would know better. He's big into the blues. Anywho, they were touring around Los Angeles. They got some traction because soon the lead singer was actually friends with Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses. He'd actually performed some of the background vocals on a couple of their albums. So they kind of got some traction that way. They were touring with Soundgarden. They recorded like a small demo track with like 4 songs. They wound up recording an EP, which they never ever released because they didn't like the sound. Apparently, it was too slick and polished. The studio had edited the sound recordings to make it sound smooth and clean. The band preferred a more natural sound. So they left Los Angeles. They didn't want to deal with that. They didn't feel it fit with their the style they were going for. So they moved to North Carolina. Having a hard time finding a place to live, they wound up renting a house and living together. And a house they wound up naming the house Sleepy House, which is actually also one of the songs in the album, which is kind of a tribute to the house they shared. When they recorded the album, they actually used outdated recording equipment and antique recording equipment. When the band spoke about making the album, they talked about, when you listen to the Rolling Stones from the 1970s, there wasn't all this fancy editing equipment. What you heard was what the instruments sounded like. When you pull up a Stones album, Her Majesty's whatever, when you pull up a Stones album and listen to it, or a lot of albums from that early era, the 60s and 70s, what you hear is what you got. There wasn't a ton of mixing, a ton of sound editing. You pulled up with your guitar and your drum set and, you recorded your tracks. And that's what they wanted. So they specifically used older equipment to get the sound they wanted. And not knowing that, wouldn't have thought about it. But now thinking about it and listening to the album before making this recording, just to give myself a feel for the sound of the album, it is there. This album does have a distinct sound. When you know that, this album does have a really distinct sound, which I never really paid attention to until learning that. So I enjoyed that. I enjoy these little quirks, bands that are kind of sticking to their guns to get the sound they want, as opposed to what a recording studio demands of them. They were also a small, lesser-known band, so they could kind of get away with that kind of stuff too. Also recording on their own without a big studio. When the album was released, it actually didn't do that well. It kind of disappeared into the mists until the YouTube video for No Rain came out with a B-girl. That made it a huge explosion, and the band, the album became a huge success after that. And the video was fun. I admit to it. That's kind of what got me interested. I thought the video was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. The video itself tells a little story. It's the B-girl kind of doing like a tap dance audition and then being laughed off stage. And then the rest of the video is set intercut with scenes of her dancing in the streets of Los Angeles, trying to get people to pay attention to her and like her stuff, and her getting sad You know, when people kind of laugh at her or don't get it. And so there's scenes of that, and then scenes of the band playing in a sunny field. You know, little yellow flowers here and there, and blah blah blah. And then at the end of the video, she opens a gate into a bright sunny green field full of people in little bee costumes like her, dancing and having fun. And she's like, I found her people. She's so happy. It's kind of a little feel-good story interspersed with the song. And that's what gave them their big splash. The album cover itself and the Bee Girl herself were actually based on the drummer Graham's niece. The band had been visiting at like Graham's family's house and saw this picture, of a little girl in a bee outfit, and it was his niece auditioning for some school thing. And the guy said, "Yeah, that'd make a great album cover." So they actually went out and found a girl who kind of resembled his niece, and did the Bee Girl image, and then had her in the video as well. Another cute little fun thing. The music itself on the album, I know that No Rain is kind of like their only hit. They had one other single from the album, and I cannot remember if it is Soak the Sun or Tones of Home. I like both of those songs. The album does have, like I said, a unique sound to it that harkens back to the 70s. But also, it's kind of like a psychedelic alternative rock is how it's frequently described. I can see that. The album has a good mix of tones, in that you've got some upbeat tempo songs. No Rain's kind of upbeat in tempo and chipper and cheerful, but you've got slower songs, songs that are more of like a slow ballad, with just a guitar and some simple instruments. No Rain is kind of more of a complicated piece. So you've got this good mix in there of various, beats and tempos and tones and themes throughout the album. And it's really solid, really solid album too, especially for a debut album. The only theme you might get is that there are a couple songs with religious themes. Now, you might not get them right off the bat. I mean, well, the song Holy Man, obviously, you might think has religious themes. It's Soak the Sin. Holy Man is more, but that was a song about people who use religion as saying they're only, what they believe is the true religion, and when everyone else is wrong. People kind of use their religion as a club against other people. I think it's Soak the Sin. It's a song about one of the band members had a girlfriend break up with him because of religion. So not necessarily bashing religion or anti-religion, just songs with religion having a mention or comment in their meaning. And there's one other song, but I cannot remember what it is, but that also has a similar thing where it's, religion takes an aspect as a part of the song. But it's not like the album itself is not overly religious. I think it's more coincidence than, anything deliberately trying to make religion part of the band's image or structure, whatever you want to call it. It's not part of the band's ideology. It just happened to be the subject of some of the songs where it came up. If you're into like 90s alternative rock, this is a good solid album to pick up and listen. If nothing else, the video for No Rain, if you've never seen it before, it's a fun, cute little video. Definitely feel good. The band itself is, the hippie in me loves the song. Just watch the video and look at the way the band is dressed and behaving. It makes the hippie in me happy. I have to admit it. I think that's it. I think that's all I want to mention. Like I said, this is the second time through. I can't believe I forgot to push the record button. I'm such an idiot. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching. As always, my stuff is crap. And until next time, good hunting.